we may be in the game. Usually I get a notification. I'm going to check my audio and everything this time. But what's going on, family? It's your boy, Biggs Vibes, and we are back for day 7 on our 30-day journey to go through all 3 courses provided by Meta for their Meta Spark AR curriculum. This essentially leads up to the opportunity for you to apply to get the Meta Spark certificate, which I feel like, because there's so many different things, so many different companies that are leaning into this next evolution of the internet, of this digital age, of this technology space that we've been living in, and augmented reality, mixed reality being a center focus within that. I fully feel like me, somebody who's really been on tech way from the beginning. I mean, like, literally, I've seen a lot of our tech literally come about and have been using it along the way. So I feel like I definitely want to be abreast to what's happening. So I'm going in the course of literally 30 days, going through every single course. We already have finished in the first 6 days, course number 1. So now we have course number 2, the fundamentals, and then we'll have the pro course as well, which is going to be the advanced course. So I appreciate everybody for tuning in. Please feel free to drop any comments, any questions, any concerns. Everything will be saved every single day. It will be on a playlist under my YouTube channel. So spread it. Let people know. I'm getting a lot of people giving great feedback saying, hey, look, I was thinking about watching the video solo dolo, but because you're doing it live, you know, when you're troubleshooting, when you're figuring things out, it's also helping on my end as well. So this is a mutual beneficial type of thing, man. We're both learning at the exact same time on this journey. So I appreciate you guys for being with me. With that being said, let me make sure. I bet. Checking, we got audio. With that being said, man, I'm gonna go ahead and kick off video. Today we're gonna be looking at the AR fundamentals, which is course number 2. We're in part 1, introduction to augmented reality with Spark AR, and this is going to be the quick intro to Spark AR. All right, let's go ahead and get into it.
In this session, we're going to cover our basis and then go over the fundamentals of AR Studio and the rest of the Spark AR ecosystem. Welcome to Spark AR Studio, and this is the Spark AR welcome window. Now, this is the interface that we're greeted with whenever we first launch Spark AR Studio. From the welcome screen, we can do a bunch of things. We can launch a template. Now, the templates are extremely useful in that a lot of the mechanisms that are quite useful and you probably will end up building a lot of are already integrated into these templates. For example, I love the world object template because all of the mechanisms for screen interactions with screen tap, screen touch and hold, and screen rotate to correspond with an object's transformations are already built, which is awesome. But we also have the opportunity to launch a new project, which is what we're going to do today. I'm just going to hit this plus button, and we're granted with the option of either starting a plain, target, or face tracking project or a blank project. And I'm going to click on blank project because for the majority of this curriculum, that's what we're going to be doing to start off the lessons. Now, I'm going to click maybe later on these tips, but they are extremely useful. Do you know what? Let's go for a tip. So this is something that we're going to address later, but you are able to change the video in the simulator. So that was a handy tip, and you may not have known that. But anyway,
I was opening up studio. Let me see.
But you are able to change the video in the simulator. So that was a handy tip, and you may not have known that. But anyway.
All right, what they got going on? Let me go refresh the window. Yeah, 139. Let's refresh real fast. We got a new educator in the cut too. I think that was pretty dope, man. Hey, let's get it back. Oh, we got 139.
In later, but you are able to change the video in the simulator. So that was a handy tip, and you may not have known that. But anyway, welcome to the main Spark AR interface. This should be familiar to you, so I'm just going to gloss over each section very quickly. We have our scene and layer panels at the top left here, and our asset panel at the bottom left. On the right-hand side, we're greeted with a properties menu, which is contextual, which means depending on the active object, the context of the menu will change. So if I go back to the scene and select directional light, you can see that we're able to adjust the properties of a directional light within the scene. And if I click on the microphone, we can adjust the properties of the microphone within the scene. And this menu will naturally change depending on whatever object is currently selected within the scene. We have our viewport, which is the main part of the center here where we're able to view our scene from all angles and perspectives. Now we're currently in 3D mode, but we can view this viewport in 2D mode also, which is very useful for things like measuring canvases, etc. by just clicking on mode and changing that to edit 2D objects like so. And we're in a much more 2D.
Wow. Didn't know you could do that, and that is actually mad helpful. Wow. One of the things I was wondering about for real was like, let me bring you guys in. Transition that boy in. Let me switch it back to your note. Yeah, I was thinking that like, yo, it would be pretty useful, especially. Well, no, let me tell you what I was thinking. What I was thinking was when artists go and create things like that, go on specific locations that they haven't been to, like you're creating experiences that will adapt to a room that you haven't been in. I was wondering like, okay, how could somebody technically go in and do that? But if if looking at it from the 2D plane allows for you to be able to kind of put things in based on particular measurements and dimensions, that would make a whole lot of sense. So cool. We can go and click on mode and then hit 3D. Okay. All right, bet. Cool. I like that.
Setting, and we're able to look at things with a ruler and some degree of measurement, which is awesome. I'm going to go back to 3D mode though. We also have filters, which enables the annotations that we see on the viewport currently. If I set it to none, for example, you can see that a lot of this annotation has now disappeared. But I'm going to go back to default because I do actually like all of the information that I do have. And we also have view. We can either change the projection or we can change the perspective. So orthographic projection is very much like this. And we can also change, hold on, let me go back to perspective. We can also change the viewport. So if I wanted to look at the back of the device, it would do that. The right-hand side of the device, a bird's eye view, wow, and etc. So it's all about whatever feels right to you and what are the...
No, this is really clutch because I feel like, you're going to be making your, like, even though, moving around with command and all of this is really good, man, for you to be able to just come up here and say, all right, bet, let me just see it from the left. All right, bet, let me see it from the front. All right, cool. Like, let me see it from the back. But no, this is really good. Like, making all of your different, yeah, I love this. I love this. All right, bet. Bird's eye view. Yeah, that's that corner pocket joint. Yes, this is good. So that little top. I mean, clutch.
Enables you to have the more accurate understanding of your scene. We can also play around with the menu buttons here inside the viewport. So this would change the position or make the active gizmo positional. This one would be rotational, and this one would be based on scale, as well as changing the coordinate system for the object and also pivoting as well, which is great. And then we have our simulator, which essentially shows us what would be visible on the device if we were testing. Currently, my device is set to an iPhone 8 in terms of aspect ratio, but I can change this to a number of Android or iOS devices, as well as create a resizable window with my own custom aspect ratio, like so. And this will give us a good indication of what things look like on specific devices. We can also switch to back camera, which means that we can emulate dual camera effects if we need to, as well as rotate the screen, and as well as practicing touch gestures. So things like screen pan, screen tap, etc., etc., all we need to do is click on that hamburger menu there and click on simulate touch like so. And an added bonus thing, we can also undock the simulator is cool as well, which is cool, and drag it around the scene like so. Now, on this right-hand side, this is the toolbar that I missed out. We have this button here, which allows us to show either the patch editor, the console, or the asset summary. Now, the patch editor, hopefully you're familiar with it. It's where I spend 99% of my time in Spark, at least. But it is the way of implementing logic within Spark using visual programming and nodes. We also have our console, which is essentially a debugging console if, for example, we wanted to use conventional scripting or JavaScript. And then we have our asset summary, which keeps us on top of our files and makes sure that they are compliant to file size limitations as well. The really interesting thing about the asset summary as well is it will split up the data or the assets within your project and let you know what is causing or what is taking up the most space, what is taking up the least amount of space. And that's when we get into the long process of compression. I'm just joking. We're also able to change the video here for the simulation. So this was our tip from earlier. So this is a new video. And we can also change this to our webcam. So this is me. We can also pause. So I'm currently paused. Lovely still. We're going to go back and play that and go back to original video. We can stop our simulation, which means restarting all of our logic from the beginning, and we can also restart as well. And we have a search bar, which enables us to search in the scene. So if I wanted to search for light, you can see that now all of the light or all of the objects that have the word light in their name in the scene have been highlighted, which is great. On the bottom here, we have a button that takes us to our asset library. Whoops, my simulator was still undocked. And this is a huge life center of a resource which has 3D objects, shader assets, literally anything you can think of, environment textures, and a lot of other things which are free for you to use, which is great. Then,
so I do just want to say that, like, you know, the beginner course that we took, although like we did, you know, we covered quite a bit. We kind of, you know, we kind of just did the expedited way. We just brought some things in, but she's really breaking down, you know, a few of the things that we're going to be able to use from, I guess you could just say from a utility perspective, like really just the buttons that they have around. Just from being familiar with other softwares, this is super, super powerful. Like I can only imagine once you have, you know, several assets open, you've brought in multiple things into your patch editor. You know, once this is very, very, very like broken out, then I can only imagine you being able to just press search real quick and then you being able to pull up whatever asset that is specifically, and only those things filter out from your whole experience. Like those type things matter, right? Going in and pressing pause on the far left hand side, you know, the animation is typically moving up and down. If you have it on the preset animation, to be able to pause it to make sure the alignment to certain objects is going to be correct, that matters. You know what I mean? So I'm letting the video play, but I do want to make sure that we're like honing in on these small things that she's discussing, because when it comes to making these experiences like that, these are the small nuances that help with speed. Okay. Last little thing before I move on. Still on this topic, like editing video, you know, for, you know, long form YouTube videos and things like that using Premiere. It's like once you learn how to use the keyboard with your left hand and your right hand can stay on the mouse, it's like it changes your whole entire editing game. You speed up so much. When you learn you can press L twice to listen to the track faster, blade, ripple, delete, all those things on Premiere to help with your speed, then editing it isn't such a burden as it is before. So I'm saying that to say, as we're learning the small things, like within the software, like these are the things that's going to make a difference. One last example, instead of us going in and pressing the plus and then coming up and pressing recent from AR library or search from AR library, or you can literally just go and there's a whole button that says plus AR library. And here, let me switch it on so that you guys can see. But literally, as soon as I press that button, AR library, let's see, boom. All right, it instantly brought up the whole entire library. So these small things, being able to have a 1 click instead of 2-3 clicks, it seems little, but in the game of design, and you're talking about clients and doing this hundreds of times in repetition, it's the smallest things that's going to be able to separate people and keep them going. You're going to be doing speaking engagements. You're going to be able to, still continue to create content, whatever your livelihood is going to be. So all of this stuff starts to add up. So I just wanted to really point that out as we're going on. What may seem to be like a general video, it's these small nuances that will start to add up over time for sure. All right, let's get to it.
And we have our testing button, which enables us to push our effects to either an application, whether that be Facebook or Instagram, or preview in Spark AR Player, as well as our publish button, which allows us to export an effect, add a demo video, and publish to Spark AR Hub, which we will also talk about in a second. So this was a general overview on Spark AR Studio and its interface. And there's also Spark AR Player, as I mentioned before. Now, Spark AR Player to me is an absolute godsend because you're able to test a couple of things that you can't necessarily test within Studio. Not only can you monitor FPS and check performance of your effect on a device, but you can also use things or test things like the native UI slider, which you currently can't test in the simulator within Spark. So if I'm using a slider, for example, then I'm very frequently pushing to Spark AR Player or Instagram or Facebook to check the functionality of that slider, as well as things like the gyroscope, for example, with device motion. The other thing that I love about Spark AR Player is kiosk mode, which enables us to make our effects full screen with no visible interface. We can even lock it with a pin, and we can have our effects running for people to test and not fiddle around with, which is very useful if you wanted to do, for example, an exhibition or a showcase or an installation or anything of that sort as well. So I'm a personal big fan of kiosk mode as well. So that was Spark AR Studio. Then we talked about Spark AR Player, but there is also Spark AR Hub, which is a web-based portal where we're able to monitor, publish, and just keep on track of the effects that we build, basically. Now, effects can be published to an array of different platforms, whether that be Facebook, Instagram, Messenger, video calling. The possibilities are truly endless. And they're all published through the hub, where we're able to monitor effects, update them, change the dates that they're being published, enable their visibility, etc., etc. So once you've built your effects, you might find yourself in hub a lot, keeping on top of them. But not only that, there are also a bunch of other plugins as well that we need to remember. So things like the Blender plugin, there's things like the Spark AR toolkit, there's the face reference assets, which I love exporting and putting into third-party programs to build my own assets, like in terms of makeup or things like that, or any other kind of face-based decoration or asset that I want to build. And there's so many more. I'm definitely forgetting a few. Texture Packer as well, which I really like as well. But Spark is this seemingly endless, amazing universe with lots of possibilities for exploration. But we're going to go through as much as we can in this curriculum, and hopefully you find it extremely useful. So I'll see you on the next one, now that we've covered our bases on Spark AR and its ecosystem, and I'm looking forward to it. Thank you.
So that was a good overview. I feel like that was almost like a recap and going a little bit deeper than, essentially what we had when it comes to the quick start course. So that was our beginner course. And she really kind of, talked about a lot of the features that we had already used. She, talked about the patch editor, the preview, things like that, but started to show a little bit more of the features that are within that. So I think that was really, really good. No real notes to take there, really just kind of breezing through, reviewing it. But man, I love powerful softwares, and this software seems to be extremely powerful. I'm looking forward to like the Blender plugin, bringing in other assets. Even though I have a whole library here already, I'm just like, I know like being able to customize and manipulate your assets and bringing them in, like that's going to be a super cool part of the experience as well. So, all right, let's go ahead and get into the second video of the day. We are on AR Fundamentals, the second course. This is our intermediate course, part 1. Introduction to Augmented Reality with Spark AR. And this video is Understanding Trackers in Spark AR. All right, if you guys recall, we already did a plane tracker, and I think we did a face mesh tracker. So I believe those are the two that we spoke about thus far. So let's go ahead and get into this. I like how we created first and made me understand this easier. I agree, Ty. Like we literally went through, did everything, and then got introduced. Because had they just started saying, "Oh, this is this, this is this, this is this," we'd be like, "Okay, patch editor, what? Okay, what's this? What's this guy doing this head thing for?" Like none of that stuff would have made sense. Talking about the material, scenes, layers, all that, it was really good. So shout out to them, man. We are really, really moving along, and shout out to you, Ty. 7 days in, we really rocking and rolling, man. Really rocking. All right, let's go ahead. And she's so smooth. I like our videos. Facts. It's our second educator. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to my guy. You know what I'm saying, for popped us off in the intro. But no, she does has a vibe, and you could tell she's really, she really has a feel for the software as well. So I'm looking forward to this, man. I'm looking forward to it. Let's get into it, and I appreciate you guys for tuning in too. Y'all don't even know. I'm gonna just cry off shit. Y'all saying, yeah. Let's rock.
In this lesson, we're going to cover all of the ways that we can use Spark AR to understand and track what is happening within our scene so that we can begin creating effects. So to start, we really need to understand what tracking means in the context of developing for augmented reality. AR is a technology that allows us to overlay a virtual image on top of the physical world in real time. So because AR interacts with the physical world, it has to understand the physical world as it happens. This is how we can detect where floors and walls are in a room, how many people are in that room, if those people are happy or sad, and maybe do all that at the exact same time. If we understand that we're seeing a wall in our scene, maybe we can instruct a user to hang a virtual painting where they would like to see it hung. If we understand there's two faces in a scene, we can tell the person on the left to smile. Understanding what is happening within your scene is fundamental to how AR experiences work. Our goal as creators in AR is to bring context to these scenes as we understand them. This can mean anything from turning a transit pass into a virtual subway map, or creating a game where you catch cookies in your mouth as they fall from the sky. It all starts by understanding what's happening within your scene. Thankfully, Spark AR makes it simple to add these scene understanding tools to your project. These are tools like target tracking, face tracking, plane tracking, body segmentation, hair segmentation, and more. Now, some of those might sound familiar, maybe not all. So let's take a look at what each of these trackers does, how they might...
I was just about to rewind, but he read my mind. I also want to give a soft shout out to his mic. Like, I hate that technically Spark AR is like no longer a thing, right? It's now Meta Spark. But that logo right there on the mic, I think that's pretty cool. So shout out to my guy.
Might be used. That way you can start using them in your own effects.
Let's get it, man. This is really good. This is a quick one just to preview. All right, tracking the face trackers. Let's get it. This is actually the very first effect that we made together or started playing around with. So now I'm pretty sure we about to really sauce it up on this one. So let's get it.
Let's face it, people love to see themselves in their own photos and videos. The self-facing camera has existed in some form or another for a few decades now, so it's no wonder that one of the most popular features in Spark AR is the face tracker. The face tracker allows us to accurately detect and track multiple faces at the same time, and not just position and movement, but even complex gestures, such as blinking, smiling, and nodding. These gestures are inherently human, meaning regardless of barriers such as the language or age, they're universally understood and enjoyed. That's why I find AR to be the most exciting field right now, because it's entirely rooted in how human beings naturally interact with each other in the world. Face trackers have been used in almost every effect imaginable, from shooting space invaders with laser eyes, to trying on virtual makeup and outfits, to transforming yourself into a cartoon princess. The possibilities here are essentially endless. Spark AR's built-in facial landmarks like cheeks, chin, nose, eyebrows, and more allow for fine-tuning, custom gestures, really customized controls, and whatever experience that we choose to build, and the ability to track multiple facial gestures all at the same time allow for an interaction amongst groups of people. For instance, You can create a karaoke game that automatically counted how many players are playing, randomly select one of those players from the scene, present them with a song, and then start scrolling lyrics on the screen to start belting out their favorite hit from the 80s. This and a whole lot more can be accomplished with the face tracker. Let's jump into Spark AR to see the various ways that we can add trackers to a scene. Now, one of the first steps of creating an effect is to decide what type of an effect that it is that you'd like to create. In my opinion, the basic requirement to create a really great effect is making sure that it's integrated into your scene, meaning that your effect should always be tracking to something: a face, a plane, a target tracker, a hand. Something should probably be being tracked. In some cases, you can even have multiple trackers working together, like a face tracker on the selfie camera and a plane tracker on the world camera, essentially creating two unique experiences in one effect, depending on which camera your friends have open. Adding these trackers to your project couldn't be any easier, and there's various ways that I'll demonstrate. So when we first open Spark, we're presented with a few options to start a project. We can start a project with a tracker already added and set up for us by selecting Create New and New Project. This will open a new window, and you'll see that we have an option to either create a plane tracking, target tracking, face tracking, or just a blank project with nothing installed. So first, we're going to start with the face tracker. And now we're inside of a blank face tracker project, and we know that because we can see that the face tracker has actually been added over here underneath our focal distance. Now, what this means is...
So I'll say this real quick because I already had the player open. If you guys recall, and I just want to review this for us. Once over on the far left-hand side, it's basically like two different windows. We have our scene and we have our assets. You can go ahead and press plus over here. And the very first one is face tracker. You press insert, and then it'll go ahead and insert into your scene. Again, it's going to be at the very, very, very bottom right here, highlighted in blue. So just wanted to show that just in case you already had it open as well and you didn't have the option to go ahead and flip it in like he just showed. I just figured it'd be good to be able to show that because I was in that same position.
Is that everything inside of the scene panel actually follows a hierarchy, meaning that there's a parent-child...
Oh, please pay attention to this part too, the hierarchy part, okay? This is like, if you've never worked on like Photoshop or Premiere or anything like that, hierarchy is literally, think of it in layers. Kind of think of it like, if I was to use this as an example, I have my phone, my microphone, me, and then let's say my bookcase. These are all in layers, right? Well, if I'm going in and making a photo, right? If we're trying to make an actual 2D photo, things overlap on top of each other. Well, this hierarchy that he's about to talk about, the parent is going to be almost like the main folder, and then everything under that is going to be the child within that parent folder, okay? But the thing to pay attention to is they do matter as far as what order they're in. So if I wanted to turn this into a 2D, or turn this into a 2D photo, a 2D photo, and this is how we wanted it to line up, well, if I would have to literally have the cell phone at the top, followed by the microphone, followed by me, followed by the background. If I was to put the microphone in front, then that would actually have to be the very top. Okay, so the top matters to what's actually the closest to the viewer. Okay, I'm sure they're going to break it down as well, but I want to put emphasis or try to put it in a way so that you can start to understand it, because this is like file organization, optimization is like, this part of it is definitely crucial. All right.
Relationship, or if you think about it, it's similar to how folders work. There's a structure or an order to how things are laid out. So if you think about it logically, we have the device, which is the entire phone or your entire device that you're using. And on that device, we have the camera. And inside that camera, we have what the camera is seeing, the distance, the focal distance. And inside the focal distance is our effect. So everything we see in the camera, that's what we want to put our effect into. And that is why our face tracker is tracked inside of the focal distance. You'll see, if I zoom in here, that it is indeed being tracked. So you'll see these arrows, they do follow rotation and movement and depth. So I explain all the hierarchy pieces here because
Okay, just real quick, because I know you guys can't see those words as clearly. Um, Up here in the top left hand corner, I love the way he kind of broke that down. If I were to close all of these, it makes sense in that order, right? So we're starting with just the actual device itself, right? The actual cell phone, the iPhone, whatever it is, right? We open up that device, right? We open up the device. What is the next step in the hierarchy of the device? We have to start talking about the actual camera, okay? So then once we open up the camera, then it's okay. The actual focal distance. Not 100% sure like how this aligns, but what I do know focal distance is this is the focal, and then now okay, if that's the object. So I don't fully know how we're manipulating that and everything, but I'm sure we'll figure it out. But then under that, you have now all of the assets that we currently do have. Right now, we have ambient light, we have directional light, and we have our face tracker. Okay. If I go ahead and make this back, oh wait, did I? Okay, yeah, no, y'all still in. If I go ahead and right click, transform, bring it back to regular size. Let's see. Get y'all back in here. Regular. All right, back. So if let's see. Forgot I could do it like this. Yeah. So if you look at the let me zoom in on it. If you look at the face tracker, you're gonna actually see like kind of how he was pointing out that if you see on my face, you can see all the lines, the arrows, they're actually tracking my actual face. So just making sure that we really understand that hierarchy part when you're placing them in there, blue line versus blue box being in it, like all of that stuff really does matter when it comes to this. So making sure we all hone in on that part as we move forward.
when you want to track something to your face, all you have to do is follow that same logic of hierarchy. So let's say I have an object, like a plane, that I want to track to my face. All I have to do is right-click on Face Tracker, go to Add, and this will put a plane underneath the Face Tracker, and look at that. It tracks one for one directly to my face. Now, let me move it up here a little bit. Right? You can already see where we're going with this. So the idea here is that anything that falls underneath another object inside of your scene panel will inherently fall under the hierarchy of it. So if we have a tracker or a piece of scene understanding, anything we put underneath there will then adhere to that tracker. Does that make sense? Okay, so let's go ahead and delete this, and we're going to delete this entirely. So let's say we have a brand new project and we want to add a face tracker to it. Now that's pretty easy. All we need to go down here is add object, and you'll notice that we have all of our scene understanding pieces right here. We're just going to go ahead and add face tracker.
Just to be clear one more time, it doesn't say add object anymore. Okay, it's again why it's good to be working with the gang. All right, all we have is the plus button. But when you press that plus button, that will bring up the menu. Okay, you guys can't see my menu unless I go to OBS and switch it. But as soon as you press plus, that is going to open up the menu for you all. Okay.
And our face tracker is back. Now, any tracker that you add to your scene, the easiest way to get to the settings are over here in this in the inspector panel on the right side. So when you highlight your tracker, if you go all the way over here to the right side, you're going to see the unique settings for each one of those trackers. Now you'll see something here that's texture extraction and some other things. We're going to get into that later. What I really want to focus on here is this is how you can go for each tracker's settings and really fine-tune each piece that you need to, or even enable trackers for certain specific cameras. So for instance, let's say I want to have an effect where I have a face tracker on the selfie side and a plane tracker on the camera side. Over here is where I would control that. Usually when you're starting off building these, the first question you ask is, so what kind of effects can you build with a face tracker? Honestly, that's a really hard question to answer because it's like asking what kind of painting you can create with a specific brush. The creativity is really up to you. Now, if you're asking what some of my favorite effects are that I've seen that use face tracking, that's a much simpler answer. I've seen ones that turn people into their favorite superheroes, cartoon characters, even their favorite entertainers. We've even seen face tracking take people to Mars and the top of Everest, even crack their face open to peer inside and see a robot. Some of my favorite uses of the face tracker are the games that use natural facial gestures, like nodding and smiling for game controls. These type of experiences cross language and cultural barriers because they rely uniquely on interactions that are inherently human. I was so interested in this that I created my own game inside of an effect using SparkAR's built-in facial landmarks and gestures to bring the classic card game of 21 to life. If you aren't familiar with the game, the goal is to get as close as you can to 21 without going over. During the game, you must choose if you'd like to draw another card. Using natural human gestures, like nodding and shaking your head, people around the world can enjoy this effect without the understanding of any language. SparkAR's built-in facial landmarks and gestures make games like this possible.
Nice, man. Look, we are cooking up. This was a great episode. I feel like just getting further and further understanding on all of the let me change the video more. Just getting further and further understanding on all of the nuances within the software. I just know it's gonna all compound so that when we're actually using these, we're not like every single thing that we go and add, it's like, okay, now what the heck do I do here? Why is this not tracking to my face? Well, we know that from a hierarchy perspective, we need to make sure that if we bring something in, it's going to be the child to the parent. I like the fact that, you can actually right click on whatever the thing is that you want to be the parent. If you want to add a child to it, you can actually right click and just say, all right, boom, add object. And then once we went in, like in this example, we went in, add object, and we added a plane. And that plane, as you can see, instantly added directly to my face. And now it's, a part of the design. Like, to me, it's good to know these type of things, right? Rather than me coming in and saying, okay, plus, then I'm coming in and say plane. Now I'm pressing insert. Like, it's not even a child to that. Let me now come and bring it. Like, all of this type stuff matters, okay? In the grand scheme of getting this done right, is gonna matter. So I appreciate all these trainings. I appreciate everybody that's tuning in, locking in with us as well as we're going through it. And ladies and gentlemen, I just want to give a huge congratulations, because guess what? Today is the end of day 7. Okay, we have completely been okay, I'm looking at the tracker. It's still on my face in the middle of it. But we've literally been consistent for this entire week. Day 1 through 7 is now done. We've actually finished one entire course. We've already made assets. We've already done a UFO, a face tracker, and now we're going even deeper into the software. So I just want to give everybody a pat on the back for making it thus far. Review your notes, review the topics, review everything that you've done up to this point as we continue to move forward. Man, this is really, really crazy because we're 23 days away from completion and going to get that cert. All right, so with that being said, I appreciate you guys on Big Vibes. Make sure you reach out on Instagram. Show love, whatever you got going on. Comment anything, questions, concerns, congratulations, whatever the case. And I'll see you guys tomorrow as well, man. I appreciate you all. See you very soon. Already over. Oh, man, I feel so bad. So, look, we've been streaming for, I think it says 39 minutes. So we typically watch like 2 to 3 videos a day. So this was our third one. But what I want to do, I don't want to make them too long when people are going through the review. I want them to be able to watch it and then go and play with the software a little bit as well. But that actually warms my heart, man, to actually hear that. All right, so tomorrow, we'll be right back at it. Dang, that made me want to keep going. I ain't gonna lie. But we do kind of have a pace so that over these 30 days we can hit a certain amount every single day. Want to make sure people can go and watch each restream really within an hour. I want to keep everything within an hour, and then we'll move forward from there. But thank you so much for your contribution, being tuned in with me and watching with me. So I'll definitely see you on the same channel tomorrow. See you guys then. Appreciate it.